You're welcome back to the conversation. Like Abimbola said before that break, we'll be looking at local government autonomy and electoral matters on the program this morning. We all know the drama surrounding the judgment of the Supreme Court on the autonomy for local government and how some governors have been playing certain games, all in a bid to frustrate this effort to ensure that our local governments in the country have autonomy. So this morning, we'll be looking at the autonomy for local government and electoral matters, as well as other issues surrounding this judgment of the Supreme Court. And we have with us this morning, to do justice to this topic, Dr. Olariwaju Akinola, political marketing strategist and a university lecturer. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you. And
Thank you
good
for
morning.
coming.
Thank you.
So I think the best way to start this morning is your own interpretation of that judgment of the Supreme Court and how some governors have been trying to cut corners all in a bid to frustrate this judgment of the Supreme Court.
Let's flash back a bit. This is one issue that has engaged some public discussion, and there has been some effort from government before this one. I remember that the government of Buhari attempted to take some steps, and the powerful governors forum checkmated him. And so, again, this current government used a democratic means as a master stroke against the governors forum.
Which is the court.
Which is the court. And it's simple, okay? I don't feel comfortable with what you are doing. And I don't want to, let's go to the Supreme Court and let the Supreme Court help us interpret. At that level, it was clear that what they have been doing was a sham. All right? And then we get to this stage. But it's not here to hurl.
Right.
And people must also understand that to make an effective change, it's not going to be like sleep, wake up, and then the change is done. No, it's a process. It's a process. And so what we are seeing now is a game that is being played. And let us put it straight. Who are the players? Who are the key players in this game? The states, right? And then maybe, who are they playing against? They're playing against the people.
Okay.
And so, if you look at it, who is the battle against? The battle is against you and I.
Sure. Because we're all part of the local government.
Yes, and who are the people who are playing this game? It is the party in each of these states. Okay. And they are so powerful. I've asked people that we must come to a time when we must reduce our focus on the presidency.
Okay, at the federal level.
Yeah, every talk is about the presidency, is about Mr. President. No, I'm in the States, where I come from. Before anything can go to Tinubu, we have a state government.
Right.
If we run a proper local government, my concern should be not even to the state governor, who is covering over 20 local governments, but to go to the local government chairman, whose responsibility is that my local government.
Right.
Now, if you devolve it downwards, I have a representative who is a councillor representing my ward or my constituency. That's the way democracy is structured.
Right. Sorry to cut you short. I like the picture you've painted, which ordinarily should be how things should be done. But it looks like we have either deviated knowingly or unknowingly, why even the people do not understand that there are steps to be taken. So rather than go to the local government, to my councillor, I'll first rather go to maybe call on the state. And ordinarily, it should actually start from who should be the closest to the people. Where do we start this reorientation from? Because if indeed we need to get into the minds of the people, then the people must buy into what we're talking about here today. So where do we begin this reorientation from?
Well, let's also have a clear understanding of where our problem starts from.
Okay.
When I got this, I had to do my own
research.
First and foremost, there are different views that people hold about the local government. Some people see the local government as an aspect of democracy that is closer to the people. So they see it as actually democracy in play.
Right.
Right? Some people see the local government as a creation that is supposed to provide service for certain delineated
areas,
constituency, as it were. Their responsibility is to ensure that they provide service. And I remember growing up, there are three categories of roads, right? The federal, the state, and the local government.
Right.
Right? Now, the third view of some people is that they see the local government as an agency of the other tiers of government.
Right.
Now, what does our own constitution say? And so if you ask people, what is your view about the local government? They are likely to tell you something close to any of these three.
Okay.
All right? And if that's the case, if you don't understand which is the most prominent of those views and which one should be the most acceptable of the views, then we will just continue to debate.
Okay.
Right? I have also taken my time to also pay attention to what does our constitution say and why are we where we are today. And that's where the constitution puts the local government under the state.
Right.
However, by also defining the level to which
The state
can interfere.
Okay. So sorry, Ajibola, I'm still holding on to that question I asked you, because now you've painted a picture as to whether or not the three suggestions that you raised, the focal point of those three are still the people. So it still depends on which notion that you hold.
Sorry. You can say it's still the people, right? We have the people here, right? But the machinery, the machinery of that operation is in whose hands?
It should be in the people's hands.
It should be in the people's hands. But you know that we run a democracy that is representative.
Right.
Now, you have an House of Assembly. Let's break down now. Assembly. It's over
the local government.
The local government.
Right.
For me, I see some sense in it, right? But I also see that that's where our problem comes from.
Because there are councillors at the local government level.
The local government also has its own executive, legislative.
Right.
And then the only arm that tries to bring everybody together and ensure that there is no disconnect and no unnecessary influences is the court, the judiciary.
The judiciary.
But now you find a situation where, for me, in this country today, the state governors are the most powerful politicians.
Right.
Not even the presidency. I'm telling you, the state governors, through the governors forum, will frustrate any president who is not strong.
Right. I agree. Agreed. Okay, I'm still not convinced. I'm still not convinced, because I guess maybe because you have not really taken, that's because I'm still looking at how, going back to what you said, as to the fact that we must stop concentrating at the federal level.
Yeah.
We must begin to hold our governors, our councillors accountable.
Yeah.
And so I'm still coming back to the fact that if we are to hold them accountable, it is the people
Definitely.
that will do the holding accountable.
Definitely.
But if the people do not understand that they have to hold those who are closest to them accountable
Can I?
more. I guess that's where I just want a clarification.
I understand what you're saying, where you're going.
Right.
Can I make a statement in Yoruba?
Go ahead.
Abiyamo ti bímọ ẹ̀ ná. Àìmọ́jó ó kù sí lọ́wọ́.
Right.
Now, the presidency has actually done a nice thing for we the people. Okay? But I don't see him going beyond that. He has created the enabling environment for which we are supposed to now say, okay, fine, this is what should operate. But I'll shock you. I've seen some of the comedies about local government elections. I call them.
I was coming to that.
I call them comedies. You know, I'm sorry. In the South, particularly in the Southwest, we are intelligently, in quotes. We can be intelligent. You will see that they will say, okay, out of 21, they will give one to one opposition party.
Just
give some councillorship, 2 or 3 to opposition party. They will hold the remaining. But we saw what was reported in Kano.
Over the weekend.
Yeah. They got everything. Even all the, I mean, that's rascality.
Isn't that the norm in all the states? And then how does it come to you that those governors who have not been able to organize local government election over the years are already doing so now? And what would you say we should do about the State Electoral Commission constitutional-wise, if indeed we want to give power to the people at the grassroots? Because these are governors that will influence those that will become local government chairmen at the end of the day. And like you have rightly said, isn't that a danger for democracy that, okay, if APC is the one in power in Lagos State, all local government chairmen must be members of APC?
I reflected over it. But the biggest challenge is the problem of trust. Not too long ago, in my
trust on the part of who?
On the system, not on the part of is systemic.
Right.
There is trust deficit. If you take the election of local government, put it in the hand of federal government, we will still have people who will still say, now it is constitutionally, okay, it is the purview of the state. I think section 197 of the 99 Constitution provides for the establishment of states independent electoral commission. So doing that is constitutional. But where the challenge is that, and I look at it this way, in the electoral process, there are different stakeholders, right? Is the investors in that industry are the politicians. Whether we like it or not, they are investors. They are in business. They invest so much money and energy into winning election. And they want to do everything to sustain their hold
the investments.
That. Right. But then you know that as customers, we are the customers.
The people?
Yes. We also should find a means of protecting ourselves. But that's not what we are doing. One of the biggest concern of mine is that Nigeria records the lowest voters turnout, right? Even in West Africa. The last election, the last presidential election, we had less than 30%. Out of an estimated population of 230 million people, right? At least assume that over 180 thereabout will be of voting age, right? Only 8 million voted the current president. And so by implication, he's not a popular president. But constitutionally, he's the president.
Right.
We are doing studies to find out why people don't vote, and a particular demography seems to have the highest level of apathy towards the electoral process. That is the the high people, the elites. Now, the elites are supposed to be the one to provide the guide. As I'm talking to you today, I should be a leader of thought in my own local government, in my own constituency, and tell the people that this local government election, we should be interested in it.
Right.
Because whether we like it or not, that is where democracy actually starts from.
Right.
Doctor, if the governors are the one chairman for
Of
the
SIEC.
State Electoral Commission,
Yeah.
how then can we have transparent election?
Now, the first thing...
Because whether we like it or not, you do the bidding of your principal.
He would dictate.
You see, the first thing we need to ask ourselves, were those elections held? Yes, they were held. Right? Were they violent? Maybe in Kano where we saw
A little bit of
that. Right? People are just not interested.
Yeah.
And anytime we have this kind of apathy, we play into the hands of the investors that I told you about. I have a feeling that it is in their interest that the elites should not show interest in politics.
Right.
So that they can
Continue to have their
way with the masses who, I'm sorry, have limited information and experience about matters. I ask you, during election, how many contestants come to contest to you and I?
Campaign.
In their campaigns, do they message us? Absolutely not. We are not their target voters.
Right.
Their target voters are clear in their mind. The market women, the Okada riders, all these people who they know they can manipulate.
Right.
So the day the elites will feel the pinch and
wake up.
And let us galvanize ourselves. Democracy is the best.
It remains the best.
Now, the local government, do people actually go and vote? No. And we are supposed to go and vote.
Right.
96 million Nigerians have voters' card, right? The last election, we had 28 million. What happened to the 70 or 60-something million voters' card? What happened?
They were sleeping at home.
Sleeping and then abusing people
On
social media.
all doing. No, that will not help us.
Okay, Doctor, let's quickly look at the merits of the autonomy that we're talking about, because I'm sure that Mr. President, in his own wisdom, who went to the Supreme Court to seek for interpretation, also looked at the very merits of, allowing local governments to have autonomy. Now, when we say autonomy, it's safe to also add financial autonomy, because, again, that is the crux of the whole issue. And then it's meant to... have improved service delivery on the part of the local government chair to the people. Enhanced accountability is also one of the issues where Mr. President thought it wise. So let's pick those two: improved service delivery, enhanced accountability. What are your expectations really if truly the local governments have this financial autonomy we're talking about, bearing in mind that the state governors, whom you've also termed as very powerful here, are also fighting vehemently at ensuring that the financial autonomy is not given to the local government in its entirety?
There's a challenge. I think constitutionally there is a provision for state and local government to have joint accounts.
Yes.
It's constitutional. But that joint account does not say that the states must pilfer local government funds.
Okay.
But here is where we have the challenge. You are working with me. We have a joint account. I'm supposed to transfer your own money to you. I refuse to transfer your money. But you can't complain.
Because you put me there.
Yeah. And as long as you can't complain, it will continue. In a state, let me say a state, one chairman of a local government was bold and courageous enough to even plead with the governor for crying out loud. I promise these people to do this, and this. That I'm in office, I cannot do it. I am pained. Can you please give me access to the money that is due to my local government, so I can execute? He was not just butchered out.
He was embarrassed.
He was
and
embarrassed that even shamelessly, members of his own constituency.
Yes, they will remember the story.
So the kind of thing is that if you now go into politics to make a living, you'll be wise. You don't want to. But if you go into it ideologically, all right, and you are interested in effecting a change, you also be ready to be bruised, like our friend was bruised. Okay? But at the end of the day, when the Supreme Court now ruled that the state has no right, it was vindicated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So those are the kind of things that we're talking about. The people should be able to stand up for their right. Mr. President has done the very best he can do. If the local government fails to function, it will not be the responsibility of the presidency. It will just be the fault of the people who have kept quiet in terms of moral crisis.
Okay. Doctor, if we see this autonomy through at the end of the day, is it going to improve the quality of service at the grassroots level and the quality of people that will be vying for the office of the chairman?
Now, let me tell you, it's going to have first and foremost a very good effect on democracy. Now, let's take, for instance, we're talking about elections in local government. Check the turnout. I am not sure it's up to 5%. Election turnout in local government. I will take back my words if we have data to show that it's more than 5%. You don't even know elections is going on.
Right.
Only very few people, the party members who attend, who go there and do whatever. Every other person goes as if nothing. In fact, the balance of the young people, nothing they happen. Right? But the moment we allow this autonomy to stand and people take it upon themselves, people turn out en masse to go and vote for their candidate in local government. It will have a spiral effect on states. It will have a spiral effect on... Don't forget that every election is local.
It is.
Right.
Even politics.
When you are going to vote, you vote in your local area. Okay? So how come during the local government election, we don't have at least, we should have more turnout in local government election?
Right.
That,
because it's at the grassroots.
okay, I have never met Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The closest I've seen him is maybe somewhere there. Okay, I'm here. But the person who is the chairman of my local government, probably we have heard together in Zebuka. Probably the next person who is contesting against them lives on my street. The councillor must be somebody I know.
Right.
So if I don't come out to vote for such people, just like the Bible says, it says, if you don't take care of the people you see, you don't love them and say you love God, the God that you have never seen. So that's the irony of the local government. Once we get this local government thing right, I bet you voters turnout and the quality of our democracy will definitely improve.
How about the other aspect of the question, the quality of people that we usually elect as chairman of local government? Will this have any effect, this autonomy?
You see, when you say the quality of people you usually elect, I don't know. I don't know whether you have ever elected anybody. Because I don't know. See, it's selection. And the selection is done by the political industrialists. I call them industrialists. Right? If they like your face and they see you as someone
who can be loyal
and whatever, oh yeah, go and be
the chairman of local government.
Local government, yeah. But when you get there, don't do anything without getting clearance from me. Right? I went to a local government chairman. I said, my department, come and do something for us now. We know each other. Let me feel that you are the chairman. He cannot spend 100,000.
Without approval.
He cannot even give us 100,000.
Because there's no money.
He will tell you nothing. The state will argue that the job they are supposed to be doing,
they are doing it
on their behalf.
Yeah, that's quite painful, Dr. Akinola. But I remember when we started this conversation, you did say that even though there is this ruling, it is not yet uhuru.
Yeah.
Meaning that the coast is not entirely clear for the local governments to have this autonomy that we're talking about. Because the governors will remain there. The governors are still the hatchet makers here. And they still determine who will get to the position of a local government chair. So what exactly are we talking about? If indeed the chairman, the governors are still calling the shots.
I think the National Assembly still has some things to do to
right,
help.
because I remember a lawyer did say that, yes, that's the Supreme Court has given that judgment, but it needs to also go into the Constitution and become part of what the land requires, that for local government to actually thrive, these and these are part of the things that should be done.
Let me tell you how powerful the state governors are. And let me also tell you why, when it comes to election, so many things goes into it.
Right.
Now, for you to have amendment to some aspect of the Constitution, there must be two-thirds
majority
in all the states. So they must take that bill
to
all the states for ratification. In most of these state legislature, the governors decide what goes on there. So once they send the bill to your state and the governor says,
it's dead on arrival,
just keep it.
Keep it in the cooler.
And that's why I have said the biggest challenge Nigerian democracy has is the governors and the governors forum.
Okay, if that's the situation, like you rightly painted, that the governors are very powerful, they decide who becomes what in their states, what then are we celebrating about this Supreme Court
judgments?
Okay, there is an aspect to be celebrated.
Okay.
This is what happens. Government releases the allocation, the figures that has been given to every local government, all right? So for my local government now, I know that in the month of November, you collected so and so million. As a citizen, I have the right to come and ask the local government chairman, I'm aware you collected so million. Can you please explain why none of that kobo came? If you explain to me what you spend the money on, I can understand. And so the same thing, the likes of Sarah, taking the presidency to court for all manners of frivolities, should please look down the ladder.
Okay.
In fact, for the next 1 year, devolve your organization to the state and the local government, and let us put pressure in those places.
Right.
Because the moment a chairman understands that he can finish his term and then go to jail, you are setting him up against.
But what will give you that right? You that you were not interested in election, how would you have the right to question me?
That is exactly what we're talking about. There is what we call electoral participation. The highest of it is to cast your vote. But there are other aspects of it, even advocacy, asking questions, joining the conversation is part of the electoral participation. But we must also have the people, the resources that is being spent is the resources of the people. And so the people must also pay attention. In Nigeria, what I've seen is that we have become so docile. And it's not just in government. Even check our various organizations and groups. The few people who are bold enough to talk are named, and if care is not taken, they are also, one way or the other, they find a way to silence them. And so that when you saw what happened to a chairman of a local government. And how many people want such to happen to them? So every other person will, I'm going to behave yourself. You see what we did to Labaja, we also do it to you. But then, if the people had actually come out and say, no, that person has not done anything in our view, and you have no right to do to him what you have done, that will encourage people to say, okay, at least I know that some people will stand for me. So we can blame all the politicians for crying out loud. We need to start blaming ourselves for our inactions.
I think finally you answered that my question now, and that is the fact that there's no change that can happen unless the people themselves are ready for that change. Before we allow you go this morning, Dr. Akinola, let's quickly also speak to the facts that, yes, we've talked about that the people are very germane here, but then we also have, Jibola asked that question earlier where you said, do we really have elections or we have selections? So for how long do we continue to cope with the selections? I know there are people that have not totally lost faith in the Nigerian nation and would still want to be involved in politics. But because of all the things going on, because man, no man, you cannot choose me, you cannot select me. What's your advice for them this morning? Should they give up or continue to strive and hope for a time where the people can actually lift them up and they will be able to, represent their communities?
You know, everything boils down on the individual. The most unfortunate thing is that because of my interest in this area, I've taken my time to study election and even people's attitude to it. You have a group of people who are not interested at all. They would just like to talk the English like I'm talking now, all right? But on the election day, they will never go out and vote.
Right.
You have another set of people who are not interested in anything but the money. Who brings the money? Esma, to contest, if you are to actually contest as a chairman of a local government, I assume if the contest is really a contest, you need close to about $1 billion.
For the campaigns?
Yeah, with the nature of how we have monetized our politics.
Okay.
You have to go, let me use the word, mobilize or sensitize the party leaders. Even the voters, they are not interested in all your campaign. They cannot even remember anything you campaigned about.
Their stomach infrastructure is more germane.
They are asking you for money. And for crying out loud, it's not only to Nigeria.
Yes, it's
US will be voting in another 8 days. You've seen situations where Donald Trump, Elon Musk is giving people all those kind of things.
Incentives.
So where we borrowed democracy, thank God for Donald Trump, is exposing what they used to keep behind.
Right.
And so, but we need to refine. The opposition party are also not helping. If you have in a state a party, like in Kano State now, where they are the party, what happened to all the
other opposition parties?
Maybe what they are waiting for is that they will go to court.
Yeah, most definitely.
Let us see the court, right, educate properly, right, and such that the opposition parties, if the opposition parties if a level playing field should be created for local government, it will be beautiful.
Right, because
we'll see good game, good political game.
And during that time, it won't be a one party that will sweep all the seats.
It cannot be.
Okay. We'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Olariwaju Akinola, political marketing scholar and senior lecturer at the Mass Communication Department, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Ogun State. Thank you so much for finding time to be here on the program today.
And thank you to our viewers, too.
Of course, we've been speaking with our doctor who's laid, so much to bear on the table this morning. Indeed, politics in Nigeria is not for faint at it. I hope we'll rise above the states that we have put ourselves in. We'll take a quick break. When we return, the conversation continues.
The views expressed on this program do not represent that of the producer, management of Lagos Television, or the Lagos State Government. They remain the perspectives of those expressing them. Thank you for staying with Lagos Television.